today. Just a quick but really important heads up. Everything we're discussing here is for educational and entertainment purposes. It's definitely not medical or legal advice. And remember, things like CBD, CBN, Delta-8, they can interact with medications. That's crucial. Always best to talk to your doctor or a healthcare professional first. And, these statements haven't been evaluated by the FDA. All BioWellnessX research and content are 100% human-crafted by our dedicated team. AI is used solely for video, visuals, and narration. One more thing, a disclosure. Our sources mention BioWellnessX. Just so you know, their products use 100% hemp-derived material, fully compliant with the 2018 Farm Bill's Delta-9 THC rules. Okay, done with the formality.
Welcome to Voices of BioWellnessX with Daniel and Sophie.
We received a really fascinating collection of sources for this deep dive, all centered on a challenge that I think practically defines the modern experience of late December.
Holiday stress.
Holiday stress. For so many people, the most wonderful time of the year feels much more like an emotional and, frankly, a logistical endurance test.
Right. And our listeners shared this comprehensive stack of resources, all focusing on how a strategic, mindful use of specific hemp-derived compounds, we're talking primarily THC and some of its lesser-known relatives, is being proposed as a genuine tool, a tool to navigate the inherent anxiety of the whole festive season.
And it's so important to state this right up front. Our mission here is not to suggest cannabis is some sort of universal panacea.
Or a replacement for necessary mental health care.
Not at all. Instead, we're looking at this as a very specific, very targeted intervention. It's about understanding the science of dosing, the utility of different product types, and responsible consumption so that the holiday experience can genuinely transform.
So you're talking about shifting the needle. Shifting from, say, feeling like you barely survived the holidays,
to actually feeling like you enjoyed them. Integrating this as let's say, a sophisticated addition to your established wellness toolkit.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even get to the science of the compounds themselves, we really need to establish the scale of the challenge. Why do all these sources consistently identify the holidays as a high-stress psychological obstacle course?
The data really confirms that this season is a perfect storm. It's a confluence of these intense external demands colliding head-on with deeply personal psychological triggers.
And you don't need a formal psychiatric diagnosis to feel just utterly swamped by it all.
No, not at all. It's the combined pressure of social expectation and just logistical chaos.
That's the core realization, isn't it? The sources outline this scenario perfectly. We are suddenly, thrust into these prolonged high-stakes social interactions.
Right. Often with extended family members you might only see once or twice a year.
Which means you have zero practice. You have no established coping mechanisms for dealing with their specific brand of confrontation or chaos.
Precisely. Let's zero in on some of those specific triggers detailed in the material. I think the most commonly cited source of anxiety is just navigating those challenging, sometimes volatile family dynamics.
The dinner table.
The dinner table is the classic example. The pressure is just immense. We're talking about, the proverbial Aunt Karen who, after maybe her third glass of wine, starts aggressively introducing these polarizing political opinions right alongside the turkey.
Or the mother-in-law who offers that deeply passive-aggressive, high-stakes feedback about how your centerpiece or your cooking method deviates from her sacred traditional standard.
Yes, and those are like little emotional attacks.
And they trigger a physical response, right? Which is then compounded by the sheer quantity of all the other external pressures.
Absolutely. Beyond just that emotional warfare at the table, there's the relentless pressure of social comparison. You're sitting next to the competitive cousin who just bought their third investment property.
Or you're fielding these inappropriate, deeply personal questions about your financial stability, your relationship status, or, the big one, why you haven't produced any grandchildren yet.
It creates this almost constant state of information overload and personal scrutiny.
And then you have to pile on the logistical nightmares that just deplete your reserves before you even get there.
Like the financial strain from gift buying.
The sheer exhausting chaos of mandated holiday travel.
And the unavoidable dramatic disruption to your sleep schedules and diet. It's huge.
When your routine, which is basically your psychological safety net, when that is shattered, your stress resilience just drops dramatically. It makes you emotionally raw for the main event.
And when all those inputs hit, the sources detail this predictable set of symptoms that either intensify or just surface out of nowhere, often turning what was generalized anxiety into acute panic.
Can you explain a bit more about why the sources emphasize that this anxiety goes beyond just mental worry, that it manifests physically, like a knot in your stomach or that tension in your shoulders.
It's the body preparing for a perceived threat. It's the fight or flight response.
Okay.
These gatherings can amplify existing struggles, generalized anxiety, severe social nervousness, or even trauma symptoms triggered by family dynamics that echo difficult past memories.
So it can sometimes manifest as, like, situational PTSD.
It can. People commonly experience this intense physical muscular tension, chronic headaches, overwhelming irritability. They feel physically on edge. The stomach tightens, palms might sweat, the heart rate elevates just a little bit. The whole system is just constantly being triggered.
The internal alarm bell is just ringing nonstop.
All day long. And then there's the debilitating mental side of it. The racing, looping thoughts that make deep, restorative sleep impossible.
Which then results in this cycle of fatigue.
Yeah.
And that means even greater emotional reactivity the next day.
It's a vicious cycle. And perhaps the most relatable symptom the sources cite, that wonderful, all-encompassing feeling of psychological impending doom while you're sitting innocently at the dinner table.
Oh, I think we all know that feeling.
And in these high-pressure social settings, this physical and mental escalation can quickly spiral into full-blown panic attacks or, intense feelings of paranoia where the person feels like they're being watched or judged constantly.
That level of acute stress, it really validates the need for a precise, science-backed intervention. And that brings us to Section 2,
Yeah.
the foundational science. We have to talk in more detail about the core mechanism at play here, the endocannabinoid system, or ECS.
The ECS is absolutely critical here. It's this vast, decentralized signaling system that's present throughout the human body and brain. It's comprised of endogenous cannabinoids like anandamide.
That's the stuff our body makes itself.
Exactly. And the receptors, primarily CB1 and CB2, and then the enzymes that synthesize and degrade them. Its primary function is to maintain biological homeostasis, balance, across vital functions like pain sensation, appetite, memory, and, most crucially for our conversation, the stress response and anxiety levels.
And THC tetrahydrocannabinol, the main psychoactive compound, it's essentially a master key that fits directly into those ECS locks, right?
That's a perfect way to put it. THC is structurally very similar to anandamide, which is our naturally occurring bliss molecule.
Right.
It primarily interacts with the CB1 receptors, which are densely located in the central nervous system, particularly in areas that govern mood, memory like the hippocampus, and fear processing in the amygdala.
So that interaction is what's actually modulating our feelings.
Yeah.
It's not just that THC is relaxing, it's that it's specifically intervening in the brain's communication pathways that dictate how intensely we perceive stress.
Precisely. It's getting in there and changing the signals.
But here is the critical nugget from all the research, and it's the single most important distinction for surviving the holidays with any form of THC. Dose matters significantly, and the relationship is not linear.
This is what we call the inverted U-shaped curve of cannabinoid effect. This concept is the difference between having a genuinely pleasant, relaxed evening and ending up hiding in the bathroom, convinced that your family is plotting against you.
It's so counterintuitive, but it's profoundly important. Small amounts create relief. Large amounts create anxiety.
Exactly. The research clearly reveals that low doses of THC, and we're talking minimal amounts here, typically anchored in the 2.5 to 5 milligram range, are what are clinically classified as anxiolytic.
Meaning they reduce anxiety.
Right. They gently turn down that physiological volume dial on anxiety by modulating the CB1 receptors without overwhelming them.
So the goal is gentle background noise reduction. You want to make sure that the input from Aunt Karen is perceived as just irritating background chatter, not an existential threat.
That's the perfect analogy. At this microdose level, users consistently report feeling more relaxed, more socially fluid, and generally finding conversations flow easier.
It's a buffer.
The compound acts as a gentle buffer, reducing the emotional sting of unwelcome commentary. And critically, you maintain cognitive composure, full participation, and situational awareness. You're not intoxicated, you are just less reactive.
But this entire strategic benefit hinges on avoiding those upper limits.
Yeah.
What happens on a molecular level when people cross that threshold and, overconsume?
High doses, and that threshold is extremely variable. It could be 10 milligram for one person, 30 milligram for another. They trigger the exact opposite, or anxiogenic effect.
So they cause anxiety.
They cause it. Instead of a gentle modulation, you get receptor overstimulation. This hyperactivation in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, often manifests as a rapid heart rate, panic symptoms, intense feelings of paranoia, and severe cognitive distortion.
And for vulnerable individuals.
For vulnerable individuals, the sources acknowledge this can lead to temporary acute psychosis. The body perceives this intense effect as a genuine emergency, and it reverses the intended relaxing benefit entirely.
So, okay, for someone who is already using cannabis to manage existing chronic issues, let's say generalized anxiety disorder or chronic pain, the holiday goal isn't necessarily about experimentation. It's more about a hyper-focus on consistency.
That is the most responsible approach for regular users. The holidays introduce enormous variables: travel, diet, sleep loss. You minimize your risk by minimizing the variability in your wellness regimen.
So stick to what you know.
The goal is simply to maintain the careful, consistent, known effective dose that they have already established. Disruption already heightens the risk, so sticking to that careful routine is paramount.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If the dose matters so significantly, then the delivery system and the specific cannabinoid profile must matter just as much.
They absolutely do.
This brings us to the immense toolkit of specialized compounds available and, of course, the essential need for discrete methods, especially when you're navigating a non-friendly family environment.
The sources highlight that the market is so far beyond traditional Delta-9 THC flower now. The evolution of hemp-derived products has introduced this panoply of specialized minor cannabinoids and delta variations,
Each with unique effects tailored for specific needs.
which is perfect for targeted holiday stress management, whether you need sleep or focus or just general mellowness.
Okay, so let's start with the fundamental science of those delta variations. We're talking D8, D9, and D10. We need to explain why these subtle structural differences actually matter to the user experience.
The difference is defined by where the double bond is located on the carbon chain. It's the 9th carbon atom for Delta-9, the 8th for Delta-8, and the 10th for Delta-10. This very small structural shift dramatically alters how the compound binds to that CB1 receptor.
And that changes the user's perception of the high.
Completely. How does that translate experientially?
Yeah, what does it feel like?
Well, Delta-9, traditional THC, that's the standard. It offers the strongest psychoactive effect, often characterized by a heavy body load and potent mental alteration. Delta-8 THC is structurally similar, but because that double bond is shifted, it exhibits a slightly lower affinity for the CB1 receptor. So users often describe the Delta-8 experience as more clear-headed, more functional, and less prone to inducing that paralyzing paranoia.
Which is why D8 is often touted as ideal for daytime anxiety management.
Exactly. It's seen as a little bit gentler.
We see Delta-8 listed in a huge dose range in the sources, though. We see 10 milligrams, 25 milligrams, 50 milligrams, and even these potent 100 milligram gummies, plus 30 milligram soft gels and 1,000 milligram disposable vape pens. But if the ideal anxiolytic dose is 2.5 to 5 milligram, why are these 100 milligram options even listed?
That's an excellent point, and it requires some critical analysis. The presence of a 100 milligram gummy implies they are targeting two different groups, either those with an extremely high established tolerance,
Or they're meant to be cut up.
or they're designed to be microdosed into much, much smaller pieces. For our listener who's trying to manage holiday anxiety, the existence of such a high-potency product should serve as an immediate cautionary flag.
A warning sign.
A huge warning sign. You must choose low doses for therapeutic effect, or you risk that anxiogenic backlash we just talked about.
And what about Delta-10 THC?
Delta-10, which is listed in 55 milligram gummies and tinctures, is often described as the most uplifting or energizing of the three delta isomers.
So while D8 is mellow,
D10 is often associated with a cerebral buzz that is more stimulating. It's potentially good for managing the fatigue of, say, hosting a party, but perhaps less ideal for calming intense social anxiety symptoms like paranoia. The proliferation of these choices really demands that the user be informed.
Okay, now let's tackle the complex, specialized minor cannabinoids. I want to start with the two new acronyms introduced in the sources, THCP and HHC. THCP is listed in those specialized blends, Delta-9X and Delta-9Ziz, both at 53 milligram. What exactly is tetrahydrocannabiphorol?
This is where the chemistry gets really fascinating. THCP is a recently discovered phytocannabinoid, and its key feature is its incredibly long alkyl side chain. THC has a 5-carbon chain, THCP has a 7-carbon chain.
And that difference is critical.
It's critical because the longer chain allows it to bind exponentially more efficiently to the CB1 receptor. Sources estimate THCP can be up to 30 times more potent at the CB1 receptor than standard Delta-9.
30 times more potent. The fact that it's included in a 53 milligram gummy blend alongside other compounds, that requires an immediate and serious microdosing mandate for the user.
Absolutely. Its inclusion suggests these blends offer a very powerful psychoactive component, even if the total delta-9 content is moderate. For anxiety management, products containing THCP must be treated with extreme caution. We're prioritizing drops or tiny fragments of edibles to avoid instantaneous overstimulation.
And HHC, or hexahydrocannabinol, that's listed in 50 milligram gummies and 75 milligram CBG blends.
HHC is another semi-synthetic relative of THC. Its primary differentiator is its chemical stability. HHC is hydrogenated, meaning hydrogen atoms have been added to the molecular structure.
Which makes it more resistant to oxidation, heat, and UV light.
Right. In practical terms, this means HHC products have a much longer shelf life and maintain their potency better than standard THC products. Experientially, it often provides a slightly more muted, less anxious high than D9.
Okay, let's move to compounds designed for specific wellness functions. CBG and CBN. We often hear them referred to simply as the focus and sleep cannabinoids, but let's delve into their mechanisms beyond just that simple label.
Sure. CBN, or cannabinol, is the classic sleep cannabinoid. What's fascinating is how it forms. It is primarily the degradation product of THC.
So old THC turns into CBN.
Essentially, yes. THC that's been exposed to light and heat slowly converts into CBN. The presence of CBN often signals a mellowing sedative effect. The sources highlight products like Dream Drops, which have 45 milligrams of CBN CBD, and tea-free nighttime gummies with melatonin. These are essential for mitigating that holiday-induced sleep disruption, which is a major contributor to stress reactivity.
Right, because if you're not sleeping, everything is harder.
Everything's harder.
In CBG, cannabigerol, this is the one associated with a non-psychoactive lift, often included in blends like the 75 milligram CBD-CBG focus gummies.
CBG is often called the mother cannabinoid because most other cannabinoids are synthesized from cannabigerolic acid, or CBGA.
It's the starting point.
It's the starting point. Mechanistically, CBG is non-intoxicating, yet it's believed to interact directly with both CB1 and CB2 receptors. It also appears to influence serotonin and GABA receptors, which are crucial for mood stabilization and inhibition of nerve activity.
So this unique profile means it can provide a distinct non-psychoactive lift, a true focus aid.
Exactly. It helps manage the mental fog without introducing the risk of anxiety that you can get from THC intoxication.
We also see these complex options like the Tri-Delta gummies, a 50 milligram THC's blend that combines D8, D9, and D10. The user has a huge amount of customizability.
An enormous amount. And for those who prefer immediate relief or more traditional methods, we still have THA tetrahydrocannabinolic acid.
That's the non-intoxicating acid precursor to THC.
Right. THCA is listed in smokable forms. Flower, pre-rolls, and vapes like the Live Diamond HTE terp sauce. For those who can access and accept these methods, the immediate onset is obviously very valuable.
However, for navigating holiday gatherings, smokables present a huge logistical challenge to discretion.
A massive one. It's virtually impossible to use them without drawing attention or creating lingering odors, which is why the sources stress the importance of silent consumption methods for managing social anxiety within that family environment.
That's a really comprehensive look at the toolkit.
Yeah.
And this complexity, all these different doses and chemical profiles, it just underscores the need for preparation.
Before we move on to those crucial social navigation strategies and discuss how to use this knowledge in a highly strategic way, I think this is a perfect moment to take a quick pause. The listener now knows the names of specific blends, from the ultra-potent PHCP products to the CBN sleep aids and the Discreet tinctures.
Absolutely. To get a closer look at all these fascinating product types and dosages, including the Tri-Delta or the Focus gummies we just talked about, and to fully understand the science behind D8, D9, D10, CBG, CBN, and THCA, visit BioWellnessX.com right now. That's where you'll find comprehensive guides and product details that can help you tailor your perfect holiday survival plan, making an informed choice before you face the family.
Preparation is everything. Now let's move from the scientific theory and product descriptions to the practical application of this knowledge. Section 4, Holiday-Specific Strategies and Social Navigation. We are moving deep into the trenches of high-pressure social scenarios.
This is where we integrate the physical tools with the psychological strategy. Let's start by establishing the undisputed champions of discretion, integrating them now into the strategy discussion.
The undisputed champion is the tincture. The sources call it the secret weapon, and it's critical for precise, silent dose management. Tinctures are liquid extracts that allow for dosing measured exactly in milligrams. The strategic timing is key. A few drops taken sublingually under the tongue absorb very quickly, offering effects within about 30 to 45 minutes.
Which is exactly the time window you need to stabilize before the dinner table confrontation begins.
Precisely. No smell, minimal visibility, easily disguised as a vitamin supplement or breath drops. You excuse yourself for a brief moment, use the dropper, and you're gently fortified against the impending chaos.
And the other MVP is the low-dose edible.
Yes. These are perfect for long events, things lasting 4 to 6 hours, like an all-day holiday gathering. They do require 60 to 90 minutes of planning, since they have to pass through the digestive system.
But once the effect kicks in, it's long-lasting and consistent.
It is. And again, the crucial instruction is sticking religiously to that low dose range, 2.5 milligrams to 10 milligram maximum for experienced users, to avoid the anxiety and paranoia associated with unpredictable gastrointestinal absorption.
Okay, now let's apply this. We've managed to get our dose in, and we're composed. We are facing the ultimate gauntlet, the family dinner dilemma. How does that low-dose composure help us navigate, say, passive aggression?
That measured composure is vital because it shifts your internal state from reactive to reflective. If you've taken your dose 45 minutes before dinner, you have a baseline of calm. This allows you to process unwelcome opinions, like Uncle Bob's commentary on your life choices, without having a visible internal emotional meltdown.
The anxiety is dulled, the sense of threat is minimized.
And you can respond with measured indifference rather than escalating the family drama.
The goal isn't confrontation or intoxication, but just maintaining personal control and your own emotional boundaries, while others may be escalating due to stress or, more commonly, heavy alcohol consumption.
Exactly. You are managing your internal anxiety discreetly and effectively. You are not creating a scene, nor are you relying on high-risk, visible consumption methods that would just attract more scrutiny.
This leads us naturally to resisting generational peer pressure. You've got your dose, you're feeling centered, and then the adult-age cousins say, hey, we're going for a walk down the block. You got anything?
This is the moment where disciplined use really pays off. The key strategy is polite but firm refusal, often by reframing your consumption as a precise wellness choice.
Right.
If you have already taken your carefully measured, personalized dose, that 5 milligram gummy or a few drops of a tincture, you absolutely do not need or want the high variability, the unknown potency, and the often massive dose of a shared group smoking session in the backyard.
You're protecting your experience and your own stability. So how should the user respond tactically to avoid conflict or like an interrogation about it?
You simply state your position clearly without apology. You can use humor, saying you've already got your bases covered for the main event, or if you want to emphasize discretion, you could use the source's suggestion. I'm good, thanks. I'm trying this new thing where I don't smell like a dispensary at the dinner table.
Right. The fundamental principle is that your consumption is a personal wellness choice.
Yeah.
And it does not have to become a group social activity.
It doesn't.
However, the sources do acknowledge that some people may want a sense of social participation without sacrificing their dose control.
In that very specific case, where you want immediate self-managed effects, the low-dose vape pen is cited as the best compromise. This allows you to take a single, quick puff or two for immediate onset, giving you total control over the dose and limiting the commitment, the duration, and the visibility of the consumption.
So you participate minimally, you manage your desired level of relief, and you minimize the odor.
Correct.
This brings us to a massive defining comparison for the holidays: the alcohol alternative. We are drowning in eggnog, wine, and festive cocktails. How does low-dose cannabis compare to alcohol in navigating these high-stakes social environments?
The contrast, scientifically, is stark, and it's critical for the listener to understand. Alcohol, which acts primarily on GABA receptors, is a central nervous system depressant. But it rapidly lowers inhibitions, often increasing aggression, impulsive decisions, and certainly leading to profound regret and hangovers the next day.
It facilitates confrontation and emotional volatility.
It absolutely does.
And low-dose THC.
At the proper low dose, that 2.5 to 5 milligram anxiolytic range, cannabis modulates the ECS. It promotes mellow sociability, relaxation, and a reduction in internal self-criticism without severely impairing your judgment.
The sources strongly suggest that people under a low-dose influence are far less likely to start arguments. Like, for example, debating the merits of whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Exactly. It allows you to maintain social composure and clarity while safely unwinding.
But what about the reality that mixing substances is incredibly common during the holidays? We need specific, firm, safe mixing guidelines.
Caution here is absolutely paramount. The interaction between alcohol and cannabis is synergistic and it is unpredictable. It's a multiplier effect that can quickly amplify what should be a mellow high into severe anxiety, nausea, or a full-blown panic attack. The term for it is greening out.
It's a guaranteed way to accidentally cross that anxiolytic threshold into the anxiogenic zone.
Precisely. If you choose to combine, you must start with significantly lower amounts of both substances than you would use individually. The combination affects everyone differently based on their metabolism, recent consumption, and body chemistry.
Right.
While the sources mention that common heuristic, weed before beer, you're in the clear, beer before grass, you're on your ass, the true responsible takeaway is simple and non-negotiable. Significantly less of both is always better.
You had to proceed with extreme awareness of the risk of unpredictable intensification.
The goal remains gentle relief, not radical intoxication.
That holistic view, the science, the product type, and the tactical social strategy, it sets the stage for our final crucial section. Mindful usage, legal, and safety protocols. Responsibility isn't optional, especially during high-stress, high-traffic seasons where travel and logistics just increase the risk profile.
Absolutely. The complexity of the holiday period demands that safety protocols be non-negotiable, particularly when involving family, travel, and potentially vulnerable populations like children and older adults.
Let's start with personal health factors, which I think often get overlooked when the focus is purely on the product itself. Age is a significant factor.
It is. While our deep dive addresses responsible adult use, the sources warn that younger adults, specifically those under 25, whose brains are still undergoing critical development, may face disproportionately higher risks from regular THC usage. It can affect cognitive development. On the other end of the spectrum, older adults must exercise extreme caution. They are more likely to be on multiple prescription medications, which introduces the significant likelihood of unpredictable drug interactions with cannabinoids. Consultation with a physician is necessary for this demographic.
And if the user is dealing with more than just temporary holiday stress, if they have serious diagnosed psychiatric disorders, the caution level must elevate dramatically.
This is an extremely important mandate. If you have been diagnosed with complex psychiatric disorders such as bipolar disorder, severe depression with psychosis, or a history of schizophrenia, consultation with a doctor is absolutely required before using cannabis for any purpose.
It's not something to self-medicate.
No. Cannabis can interact negatively with these conditions, and professional guidance is essential for ensuring safe and stable usage throughout the high-stress holiday season.
One of the most critical proactive safety practices the sources highlight is the importance of tracking, which kind of moves this from temporary coping to sustainable wellness management.
Yeah.
Why is maintaining a consumption log so vital during these unpredictable weeks?
It's the difference between guessing your dose and truly optimizing it. A consumption log, which includes the product type, the exact dose in milligrams, and the time you took it, becomes invaluable personalized data.
And crucially, you have to track specific feelings before, during, and after.
Exactly. Was your heart rate elevated? Did you feel focused? Did you experience any transient paranoia?
This log is basically the map to your personalized ideal anxiolytic dose.
It is. It minimizes the risk of panic. It identifies which specific compounds, D8, D9, HHC, whatever work best for your body chemistry, and it helps manage potential tolerance buildup, which is common when stress drives more frequent usage during the month of December. The log turns a coping mechanism into a precise, quantifiable wellness strategy.
Okay, moving now to the non-negotiables. Legal and safety protocols relating to logistics. First, travel. This is simple, but compliance is often shockingly low.
The law is clear, and it is non-negotiable. Never transport cannabis across state lines. Even if you are traveling between two states where cannabis is fully legal, federal law still supersedes.
So it makes cross-border transport illegal.
And it can carry serious penalties at state lines, airports, or international borders.
So the advice is to plan usage around travel and logistics.
Correct. The wise approach is to plan to stock up locally at a dispensary upon arrival in your destination state, or simply plan to take a temporary break from cannabis while you're traveling. Do not allow potential drug smuggling charges to add to your list of holiday anxieties.
Good point. And if you are the host, especially if children or pets are present, storage protocols are paramount.
Total diligence is required to prevent accidental ingestion. All cannabis products, edibles, tinctures, vapes must be kept in a secured, locked area, safely away from children, pets, and importantly, away from unsuspecting guests.
Edibles especially.
Edibles, in particular, must be clearly labeled and never left out where they could be mistaken for regular holiday cookies or candy.
And for consumption while hosting.
Stick rigorously to discreet methods like tinctures or low-dose edibles that do not create any lingering odor or secondhand smoke that could affect guests or family members who do not wish to be exposed.
And finally, the most critical safety protocol, one that transcends the product discussion and applies universally: driving.
Never, under any circumstances, operate a vehicle under the influence. This is a public safety mandate. The sources emphasize planning your cannabis usage entirely around travel responsibilities. The legal disclosure suggests waiting a full 24 hours or until all altered effects wear off before getting behind the wheel.
The risk is simply not worth it.
It's not worth the perceived benefit of mild intoxication. You must be responsible for yourself and for others on the road.
That holistic view, the technical science, the differentiated product toolkit, the tactical social strategy, and the stringent safety protocols, makes this deep dive incredibly actionable for the listener facing December stress.
It does. And understanding the sheer variety of products available, from the powerful 100 milligram Delta 8 gummies that demand microdosing, to the ultra-targeted 2,500 milligram topical relief creams that can handle physical tension or holiday-induced back pain, it truly showcases the depth of the wellness toolkit available for managing every dimension of holiday stress.
Before we wrap up, let's make sure our listeners know exactly where to find the comprehensive guides on everything we've talked about today, particularly the technical differences between D8, HHC, and THCP.
Absolutely. Remember that the key to managing holiday stress is not just surviving it, but preparing and acquiring the right knowledge. We strongly encourage you to review the detailed resources and product options available, including information on tinctures for discreet use, all the specialized edibles, and the safety protocols for high-potency blends. Visit BioWellnessX.com to explore these comprehensive options and read the full legal disclaimers regarding usage and safety. Knowledge truly transforms coping into comfort.
This deep dive has fundamentally shown us that the holidays don't have to be a yearly ordeal. We've covered why this season is uniquely stressful, the critical role of low dosing, that anxiolytic sweet spot of 2.5 to 5 milligrams, the utility of discrete delivery methods like tinctures, and the essential safety guidelines for combining substances and holiday travel.
So what does this all mean for the listener going into the next few weeks?
It means you are now equipped with a strategy and a toolkit to approach challenging family environments thoughtfully and strategically. It means transforming that feeling of physical dread and psychological impending doom into a genuine, relaxed, festive spirit that allows you to engage fully.
Exactly. And beyond immediate stress relief during the party, consider this final thought. The sources emphasize tracking your specific reactions, not just whether you felt high, but quantifiable physiological changes like heart rate, focus, sleep latency, or paranoia levels to different low doses. This meticulous practice of personal optimization could help you refine and maintain a proactive, sustainable daily wellness routine well beyond just the holiday season, turning a temporary coping strategy into permanent life management.
Thanks for listening to Voices of BioWellnessX with Daniel and Sophie.